And the other film that I'm working on now, I Kill My Girlfriend and Her Boyfriend, and that's just the beginning of the film.
What's that one called?
I don't see the name. Yeah, the name for this one is The High Beams Chronicles. High beams, as in the high beams of the car that I drive.
Right.
And it's going to be a project that's going to take a few years to make. He's making the first film in 4 parts, as short films, and then they'll be put together in a film, and then he has a second feature if things go well, he wants to make out of it.
Wow. Wow.
So that's my other typecasting, the Chris Walken type.
Oh, I could see that too now that you mention it. Yeah, the younger Christopher Walken now, right?
Yeah.
But anything Christopher Walken is heartthrobby or crazy. Yeah, but you can still fall in love with him even when he's crazy, right?
Yeah.
Exactly. He's Christopher Walken. He's very tall, though, I think. In real, I saw him once. But
Oh, you did?
I
I've
did.
never seen him.
I once went to KaRoLy's, and Richard Belzer was performing. This is a long time ago. At one table, there was Daryl Hall, Christopher Walken, and like 2 other people, but those are the standout ones that I can remember this second, that were all there for their friend, Richard Belzer. It was pretty crazy, but they were sitting down, because I know Daryl Hall's really tall too, but they didn't look so tall at that night, you know? So, acting, when did you start?
I began as a musician in the theater, so I would act when actors got sick. They found out I was a quick study, so I would go on. And about 8 years ago, this really happened after 9/11. I didn't see the connection at the time, but there was. A lot of things changed at that time, personally and business-wise. A lot of theaters down here closed down where I was working as a musician. And I made a serious decision to take acting seriously. I found a mentor. I became her last student.
Who was that?
Her name was Karen Leslie Little. Have any of you seen the documentary about Richard Pryor?
Oh, of course.
And I just caught it by accident on cable a few days ago. And at the end of his career, he was making movies like The Toy, and they were speaking disparagingly of this because he had done such great work. And in The Toy, Jackie Gleason hires him to be his son's toy. So it is a kind of a ridiculous conceit. But the film means a lot to me because it was my teacher's big break. She was the 3rd lead. She played Jackie Gleason's Swedish maid.
Wow.
And she sleeps with Richard Pryor at the end of the film. She was just beginning to break into the business, and then her husband got cancer. She got cancer.
Oh.
She came back to New York. I met her, became her last student.
Wow.
And then I started making films.
So what were the 3 most important things she taught you?
Oh, what a good question.
Well, I want to know.
Hey, he pays for that.
I heard this about you, and I thought I prepped well, but you always, I heard that about you, that you always come up with something really.
Well, thanks, because, last week's people, they said I stayed so off topic that they were so upset that I didn't ask them any of the questions they wanted me to ask. And then they gave themselves their own interview on Facebook written out.
Oh, for Christ's sake.
The proper interview that I should have done. So I appreciate that comment. I am non sequitur. That was my nickname I was given in England. I didn't even know what the word meant, and now I totally do.
This is the world we live in. I mean, people criticize Charlie Rose and David Letterman.
It's okay, we're live.
It's an internet, everybody.
I love David Letterman and Charlie Rose.
Poor form.
So anyway, tell me
but
the answer.
that's not a question I gave to you, and nobody's ever asked me that. Let me think if I can think quickly. The 3 most important things I work with.
That you
One of the interesting things about mentors, about great teachers I found, especially if they pass away, which has happened to me several times, is often it's the thing.
Remind me not to be your mentor.
It's often something that I didn't realize was so important, and then later, in my case, it is a kind of coincidence. I was the last student of several different people as a pianist, and so I didn't finish my training really when they left, and so then I started working, and it would often be something I remember one time she said to me something that you hear, that the camera is your friend, and you hear that occasionally, and I didn't think it was that big a deal when she said it, but I just started making films right before she died, and I was getting lead roles from the beginning. Indie films, so nothing that anybody sees if they don't go to festivals, but still, they were big important when you're playing the main role. And so at the first few films I was scared, and that helped me, and I remembered her said that. There were a couple things. You asked for three things. It was the camera was your friend. Another thing was she always wanted blood on the floor.
What does that mean?
Whatever's happening in the scene has to be important, or the writer wouldn't have put it in the story.
Ah.
So the actor's job is to bring blood, to put blood on the floor. And
like bring it to life?
There's got to be something important. It doesn't literally have to be blood on the floor, although in my case I'm often cast putting blood on the floor. And another thing is that if you're creating the character and you're doing good work, then it's like peeling an onion. You'll never stop thinking of questions to ask about the work that the character you're trying to create and understanding the story.
So when you play a character, do you usually identify with the character?
That's another very good question, because since I came at this as a second career, really, I started as a musician, but I worked with actors all my life, I assumed that I would be the kind of actor who began with the script. Because I'm very, it's the way I was trained as a classical musician. You start with the score and then you bring yourself to it. I was sure that's the kind of actor I would be, because most actors are on one side of that. They either start with themselves or they start with the script. And then you add the other. And I found immediately in my first film, I was not, I begin with myself, and then I add what the script the writer has told me to it.
Now, when you walk away from the part, does the character then live in you forever, or you let it go?
Some of them do stay, yeah. I mean, I've done 100 films now in 6 years, so sometimes I don't remember if I even did the film.
Yeah.
But a great many of them stay with me, and I miss them, yeah.
Right. Wow.
I do. When I'm playing them, I feel like I'm living it, not like it's the preparation kind of goes away once the cameraman calls action.
So I made you through 120 of film that you want to talk about a little bit?
Well, 120. The name of the film refers to President Obama's inauguration, his first inauguration.
It was January 20th.
And the film is a coming-of-age story of my daughter.
In the movie.
And it's her coming of age coincides with Obama's inauguration, so there are social and political ties to what she's going through as a young woman. She decides to run away from home for the weekend to attend the inauguration with her friends. She's a Japanese actress, and so I learned Japanese, so that the assumption was that her mother had died, but I had learned enough Japanese from her mother that I could speak Japanese with her. And they wanted one of the things they wanted was for the people in the film to reflect America. And just like me in real life, Americans from the beginning were from all over the world.
Yeah, I loved that film.
The film's won a lot of awards, even though it has no distribution.
Right.
So it's been all over the world, yeah.
It is. It's a beautiful story, and your part was good. All the acting was
well, it's one of the few films I did where I did a very small role, but I was very happy to do it.
But it was a major role, yeah, exactly.
Well, it was wonderful people. I mean, very
all right.
experience, yeah.
Now, so last week or the week before, recently, you had me talk on a panel.
Yes, I interviewed you a week ago.
Yeah, and it was really inspiring at HB Studios. And that class alone, you want to talk tools of the trade?
There's a class at HB Studio, most of you know, is one of the 3 or 4 most famous acting studios in New York that came out of a response to the Stanislavski Revolution in the city. And so they're one of the 3 or 4 places where a lot of famous movie actors that we think of as names now came out of. Stella Adler, Strasbourg, HB Studio. HB was Uta Hagen Studio. And a friend of mine teaches a class called Tools of the Trade, which is designed partly to teach you the business of building a career, but also to help you to network and learn from network and brainstorm and social network and think outside of the box about how to build your career. And since I take the class, but since I've done so many student and indie films the last few years, I asked the teacher if I could invite people that I work with, filmmakers, to come and talk to the actors.
It was really inspiring.
And so, yeah, that was what was that about. And we had a big panel that day.
It was really fun. Everyone was like incredible. So,
Thank you.
on another note, it is chocolate wafer day today. And we'd love to give you a chocolate wafer.
I can't because I have an allergy, but thank you.
Can you eat Canadian lollipop? Because we're celebrating Canada today. All right, so you'll take a lollipop. So would you share a skeleton from your closet?
A skeleton?
Yeah, we got to get
one?
just one little.
A skeleton? You mean something embarrassing?
Yeah, or naughty, or
naughty.
dark.
Dark. Gee, I mean.
Did you ever steal anything?
Did I? Well, I did, and I'm very ashamed of it, and so I'd have to.
That's what we want to know.
The trick would be how to make that a very short story. I'll tell you the beginning and end really quick.
Okay.
Because I really am ashamed, and I disagree with a lot of there's a movement today to say that you should never feel ashamed about anything. I disagree with that. Shame helped me to overcome what became actually an addiction to shoplifting, and
I hit a nerve.
It was
another good question.
Well, I was one of those.
Cool.
I was one of those kids that they call goody two shoes, and I was voted class angel. And lots of kids who never do anything wrong then get into real trouble when they're on for the first time. And to a degree, that's what happened with me.
Yeah.
And then it actually became an addiction at one point. And when I think about the experiences I had, I'm very embarrassed and ashamed about. But I'll tell you something that would be interesting to people that doesn't have anything to do with my embarrassment. One of the things I discovered through these experiences was that it's a lot easier for a white person to steal than for a black person. And I would walk, it's sad, it's funny and sad, but it's literally true. When I was doing this, and it was an addiction, I was often taking things I didn't even need. I'm not going to try to go into that now. But I would walk out of the store, I'd never hid anything. I would walk out with a big boombox under my arm, piles of books and magazines, never hiding anything.
So you kind of wanted it.
While they were stopping a person of color who hadn't taken anything, who was just looking at something, and I'd walk right in front of them. I'm not proud of it, but it is an interesting. That was one of the interesting lessons about it. But I stopped.
Did you get caught?
I did. I never went to jail. I never went to court. I could have.
Right.
But I did get caught. I certainly could have gotten into more trouble.
I always feel like
I got out of it. I had friends that helped me get out of it.
That's
stop
good.
it,
We'll have a lollipop for that. And what's your website? Because you're an amazing actor, and you could have said you were just doing a part, right?
The website is just my name, EriCh RaSCh. So if you can spell it, you can find it. Because there are only a few of us in the world.
Rip this out, go for it. So we'll have it on our rew-who page, and it's RaSCh.
Yes, it's Eric with the CH.
Yes, it is.
RaSCh is SCH.
Right. And any last shout-outs? Yes.
Sorry?
Any last shout-outs? Anything you need to say?
Oh,
did you say enough?
There's so many people that I owe. I think that says it all. I owe so many people so many respect and favors. But thank you for having me.
Oh, come back
the
anytime.
panel and the class loved you. And
I love them too.
This is the beginning of a really.
I hope so. I would love to learn all those tools.
And you love it. This is terrific.
Thank you so much. Oh wait, okay. We have one more on this first Wednesday of July.
Next, it's you.
Well,